Are you feeling emotionally disconnected from your spouse? Are you feeling like roommates or just like two ships passing in the night? Are you feeling very distant between you and your husband? I can't imagine as a wife what that might look like. I see more and more that wives are the one who tend to be so much more relationship centered and relationship priority approach. That's the person that you are. And sometimes when you don't see the reciprocity where your husband is kind of coming back to you the way you would hope to, it can be frustrating. I know that I have, in my own journey, my own life, frustrated my wife at times because I was so busy doing everything else and working on the business. Again, it's for our good. It's for we all going to benefit from that. And I'm saying that in gist, but it's true. That's the whole idea behind what your husband and maybe what I have done as a husband myself. I love this quote that says, feeling distant from your spouse can be one of the most isolating experiences in a marriage. And that's so true. I'm sure you would agree with that. But I want to say to you that what you're experiencing, it may feel unique, like nobody else have ever gone through that. But I'm here to tell you that there are others who have. In my work as a licensed marriage and family therapist and a certified relationship coach, I have worked with hundreds and hundreds of spouses and or couples who have come in to work on some of the issues, especially those who are entrepreneurial. And so it creates a different kind of dynamic than if you were just two people working for in a job, a job, and didn't have any aspirations to have an entrepreneurial business or to take things to the next level or to make life more secure, because there's no security, as you know, when somebody else decides for you. And I would say that your husband possibly have sought out how to really bring income, extra income into the home where you and him and the kids can be able to spend time and travel together and all the different things that he wants to give you. And sometimes it feels as if you're the only person who's experiencing that. But I can tell you, you're not the only one. Now, I know that it may sound like when I say that, I'm, you're thinking, well, I don't really care about other people. I'm care about my relationship. And I'm not saying you are saying that, but I can imagine sometimes that might be what comes across your mind. And you're right. It's about you and your relationship. However, we cannot discount the fact that other people who find themselves in your similar situation are there, have created a lifestyle out of what the husband have been working on. And sometimes as a wife, right? But I'm speaking to you as a wife mainly. And that's why I refer to your spouse as the husband. And of course, you'll be the wife. So when I say many Christian wives have experienced and feel emotionally distant from their entrepreneurial husbands, it is just a fact. And I want you to, as we go through this video, to see where possibly you could make some changes, or what can you present to your husband different from the things you have been presenting to him over time. And the reason why you're more frustrated and possibly feeling resentful is because nothing really have changed, right? So when you're feeling the emotional disconnect, it is something that is real, and it's something that you want um kind of rediscover, right? Rediscover the closeness into the relationship, because many times you know how that feel when you're feeling like roommates and you're lacking intimacy, you're feeling unheard, and you just go on and on. It can be very, very challenging. And what happened is it creates a negative impact on your self-esteem and your overall well-being. And that's why it has to be handled a certain way in a balanced manner. And hopefully you'll hear something today that will shed light on what it is you're experiencing. Now, this is more for this piece here for the husband, and you can share that with him, or if you're watching, dear husband, we want to remind ourselves that the scripture says in Ephesians 5, verse 3, for this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. That is really a promise that God have gave when he created man and woman, put them together in the Garden of Eden, and caused them to become husband and wife. And he said to them that this idea is to bring unity, is to unite it, you as a husband to be united to your wife and have a connection. And your wife knows that, right? Dear wife, you know that, right? That is what you crave and long for and desire. And that's why you might be more frustrated, because it seems to be eluding you no matter what you've tried, no matter what I've tried. And so I want you to know, dear wife, that there is a way to manage what you're going through. And if anything I've just said, you relate to anything, or it sounds familiar, would you go ahead and just share in the comment below? And also, while you're at that, if you're being very generous, I would love for you to subscribe to the show as well, to the channel. That would be very much appreciated. Now, what we have to understand then is where does this come from? What are some of the root causes of what you're experiencing? May I just share this with you, that these two things I believe are part of what you're experiencing, and that is the unrealistic expectations, lack of communication, differing priorities, and stress, right? Many times there is an expectation. However, it may not be expressed the way it should. And maybe the way that your husband hears it, he doesn't hear it in a manner in which you want him to hear. And that's why we're so big on communication as one of the most important aspects of our relationships. And that is something that I've talked about in other videos. But I want you just to kind of focus right here with me, that if you're experiencing some of these frustrations, you may want to go back and look at, is there an unrealistic expectation I have of my husband? I know he's working hard. I know he's putting in the hours. I know he's up late and then get up early, trying to work during the times before he goes off to work and work his regular job. And he's trying to take every other moment, free moment, to put into his work, in his business, to, again, at the end of the day, to give you a better life. So when that is, the expectation is too high, then it might need to be dialed down, and you both may have to have a conversation about that. The second thing I want to mention to you is empathizing with your husband. You say, oh, here we go. Just typical husband. Just defending my husband. No. I'm not. I'm trying to help you understand that this is very important, that when you acknowledge the pressure your entrepreneurial husband is facing and going through, and he feels like you get him. And then the importance of also balancing work and family. Your husband feels an enormous weight. How do I know that? Because I'm one of those husbands. And when you're trying to build out your business, and it's you as a solopreneur, because you don't have anybody else to help you to do part of this work, you have to put the hours in. And early stages of any business requires that, right? It requires for the startup person, the owner, to put in more hours than anybody else will, until they can justify getting some help in their business. It took me years before I was able to get to the place where I could actually get some people to help me. And actually, this video you're watching was edited by one of my virtual assistants, who have been very very faithful and committed, and is working very hard for us to succeed. Because I like about what my VA, and by the way, that's Yen, and what I really like about her is that she is taking the time to making this as if it's hers as well. So it's important to find the right people, the right help, because as you may have heard, not all help is help, right? So it's great when you can find someone to help you. And so maybe you might want to talk to your husband and help him to see how he can delegate, if possible, some of the things he is working on. But the mere fact that you would bring that up and talk to him, he feels as if you're with him, you're in the game with him. And that acknowledgement goes a far way. So the Bible says a man leaves and cleaves or unite himself. So that unity is power. Unity is a strength of the marriage. When there's disunity, as you have experienced or may have been right now experiencing, when there is disunity, it creates a gap, a distance in the relationship, not to mention the conflict, because there's tension. There is this unspoken things that is taking place, and you can feel it because it's been given off. It's like almost like the heat of that is pouring off, and anyone who gets close by can pick up on that, especially your spouse. So here's some practical tips of how you could possibly then begin to build that reconnection, begin to kind of draw closer to your husband. And I want to start about something I've spoken about before, about regular date nights, schedule regular date nights. And here's what I know. When you schedule that, it should be on your calendar as an appointment, like you would have for any other appointment. Because when you make an appointment to the doctor, the dentist, wherever you go, that appointment, you work around that. You make certain that nothing interfere with that appointment, because you made it is important to you, and you want to make sure that you fulfill that appointment. But the point is, you put that on a calendar and then you plan around that. That is where, when it comes to your date nights, it should be treated the very same way. It's on the calendar, and then everything else works around that. My wife and I, we have once every Friday is our date night. And I can tell you, for the last several years, and it took us a while to get here to land on a Friday evening, because we have tried different days, and sometimes our schedule or with the kids when they're much younger, it was challenging. So we have to just pick and choose whatever we had available. But as the years have gone by, I recognize that when I put it on the calendar and it's unmovable, then what happened is I work around that. And if someone should ask me to do something at that time, I can say, I'm sorry, I have an appointment or I have a date night. But however I want to choose to speak about that, it's solid. It's now, of course, exemptions are when there's an emergency and so on, but those are the exceptions, right? So schedule regular date nights with at least once a week, right? Sometimes you may not be able to do it once, but how about every 2 weeks? I believe you can find time for that. And then you could also find one activity on a date night to enjoy. You could enjoy together. Maybe just walking around at the park or by the beach, wherever you live, or in a shopping center, if they still have those around. But those are the things you may want to think about. And then also focus on active listening. Make every effort to listen without distractions. I love this quote that says by Peter Drucker. It says, the most important thing in communication is hearing what isn't said. Catch that? Is hearing what isn't said. And I can tell you, for me as a husband, sometimes we say things that we know we didn't. We think we said it, but we didn't, because we're thinking it and we are so busy doing certain things, we would almost like swear that we have done it. And even though I don't advocate for swearing, but I'm just saying you may be at that point. So I think we also listen to what is not being said. We look for the body language. Is there a stressed look on your spouse's face? Is there a puzzled or a sadness? You have to be the best student of your spouse, your husband, and of course, husband to your wife, to be able to pick up on what isn't being said. That is active listening. That is true intimacy of knowing your husband and knowing your wife. The other thing I want to mention is physical touch. Um, I believe it's important to reintroduce physical affection into the relationship. It could be something very similar, like holding hands or coming up to the other person, hugging them, or tapping them on, whatever it might be, cuddling. This is one of my wife's love language, which is physical touch or affection. And she has no problem doing that. It's very easy because that's her native tongue or native language per se. That's not really mine. And sometimes I have to work hard of giving her what it is she needs, and she likewise for what I need myself. So the physical touch, it could be holding hands, it could be cuddling, it could be just something where that moment is spent and shared between you both. Here's another one I think is so important, and it's many times and gets overlooked, and that is express appreciation. Make a habit of complimenting and making each other and thanking each other daily. So it's a complimenting, it's acknowledgement, and show appreciation. I cannot tell you how far that goes when you may just say to your husband, honey, I appreciate the work you're putting in for the family. I want you to know that I'm supportive of that. And I also want to know that we find a balance. And I'm wondering how we could work at making certain that we don't get something out of balance, right? So it's one way to present that, but you want to start off by appreciating and showing gratitude for what your husband is doing. Voltaire had this quote that's attributed to him. It says, appreciation is a wonderful thing. It makes what is excellent in others belong to us as well. Okay. Appreciation is a wonderful thing. It makes what is excellent in others belong to us as well. That means that what we want for ourselves, we want also for our spouse, our mate. And this is what I believe we need to work towards. And sometimes you may need to seek professional counseling if things are really getting out of hand and truly becomes unmanageable. And I want to mention one last piece here as I go through the list of practical things. And I cannot underestimate the power of this one. And that is to pray together. Lean into God for guidance and strength, because God is able to quiet your heart and give you peace and give you strength and let your mind remain in a sound place, because he doesn't want your mind to be tormented. And it can happen so quickly, right? It can happen so quickly. Thich Han says the most important thing in a relationship is to feel understood. And that belief is so crucial. So I hope this is so far helpful. Again, if you have not yet liked or subscribed to the channel, you may want to go ahead and do that right now. As I kind of getting towards the end of this video, I want you to share the most important, well, everything is important that I shared. I want to share something else with you before we wrap things up. I want to reiterate something for you, that the importance of emotional connection and the steps to rebuild that. I gave you some things you can now do. You may also want to write in a comment which of those that I went through you feel like you could work on some more. I also want to remind you that it is possible to overcome emotional distance and strengthen your marriage. It is possible because all things are possible. Jesus said, all things are possible with those who believe. And in speaking about God, nothing is impossible for God. Do you believe that? I would hope you do, because that's where our hope comes from. And we want to make sure that we don't overlook leaning into God for his help. Now, I want to encourage you to follow through on those things. And I would love to hear at some point what difference this has made if you implement the things that we're mentioning. One of the things I've also put together for you who are watching, right? And that is a one-page PDF that talks about the 11 rules for a happier marriage, the 11 rules for a happier marriage. And it is really, I want to share with you 3 of the rules that are on that 11 rules. Number 1 is don't keep score. Now, under don't keep score, I have a paragraph to explain what that means. Don't compare. I have a paragraph that explains what that means. And be quick to forgive. I also have a paragraph. Why I put the paragraph there is to help to flesh out what that looks like in your relationship. Now, what it is I want you to do to get this, I'm putting together a wait list for my upcoming program, Happier Marriage by Design. And I want you to be a part of that. I'm only going to take a limited number of people because we're going to work very closely on building out the relationship that they want for themselves. And I'll be sharing some things from both personal and professional experience to help those who are chosen. And if you want to be considered, you want to go to the wait list at buildyourhappiermarriage.com, buildyourhappiermarriage.com/waitlist. And once you go there, fill in the information really quickly, and you'll immediately get this one-page PDF that I've promised that I will give to you just for signing up. It doesn't cost you anything. But again, I want to let you know that if I have an overwhelming number of people who have signed up, then I'm going to pick, I'll be choosing very selectively by an interview, talking to those people to get them to come in and making certain that I'm serving the right number of people and they also are getting what they were looking for. So again, go to buildyourhappiermarriage.com/waitlist and you can get the free copy of the one-page PDF once you have signed up. Now, I want to say thank you for taking the time to watch, to listen. Again, if you have not yet subscribed, please do so. Hit that like button so that you don't miss any videos that are being put out on this channel. I want you to make certain that you get that. So may God bless you and you as you follow through on this, and may he bless your marriage and your household. May there be a blessings of God upon all that your husband is doing and upon what you're doing. And God will put everything together in due time. Trust him. Now, God bless you, and you can watch this other video right here.